Kind of like a back row Catholic.
Good morning. Welcome to Contemporary Issues class. Nice to have you here today on a special Sunday. There's some kind of football game going on today, and some of us are expressing our preference. But we wish good luck to both teams and may the best team win. Of course. Of course.
Go Niners, go Chiefs.
That's right. Well, we have a good topic today. I think we're going to have a good discussion on why go to church, any church, and what do you get out of it? And what are some of the reasons that you pick a particular type of church? So we had this scheduled for quite a while and thought it'd be a good thing to knock around and share ideas. Before we start on that, we are going to announce that we have Zoomers, welcome Zoomers. Please mute yourself in the lower left corner of your screen when you're not talking. And we are recording this for future playback. And any other announcements? We have a potluck lunch next Sunday right across the hall. Bring your pot and bring your luck. For the potluck. Vicki,
We will provide silverware and plates and drinks. So, and if you have crock pots, I've requested that we have extra plug-ins. So you can immediately put them in the room across the hall if you want to, and let them sit there. And there's a couple of ovens in the kitchen if you want to use those. I don't think that'll be interfere in anything. So, yeah, we've been talking about having a quarterly get together, and so we're gonna do it starting next week.
I'm a power strip.
Oh,
That's
well,
all.
I've already requested for us to have several cords. So if you
Okay.
bring crock pots, yeah,
Okay.
thank you though. Yeah.
Okay, any other announcements? Any classes or events anybody would like to promote that the church is doing? Go ahead.
Yeah, there was actually a full page ad in the Denver Post this morning
Oh.
on this race to Ukraine. There's a speaker flying in from the Ukraine, speaking at Regis at 7 o'clock this Tuesday night. I'm gonna be there. If you want to get a ride and need one, I could work something out with you, because I'm definitely gonna be there.
No
All right.
pancakes for you.
But again, this is a full page ad in the Denver Post this morning, and I can verify that it's a very bona fide, doing good work, honest organization. Here's a little more info. I'll pass that around on them. So, okay. Alrighty.
Before,
I have an announcement.
sure,
Sure.
go ahead.
I just want to go under what the spotlight was this morning. I was over at the food market on Tuesday,
Okay,
and the lady who takes the inventory says that there's at least 50 pounds of dried beans that goes out every week,
Wow.
and we only had 25 pounds.
Ooh,
I would encourage each of you to please bring rice, dried black beans, dried pinto beans, ketchup, cereal, pancake mix, and syrup.
huh,
Those are the items that go the quickest,
huh.
and they run out almost every week, but they get very close to it.
And where should they go with it?
They can drop them off at the depot, just bring them to church. I mean, you can take them over to East Community Center, but if you just drop them at the depot, these people, one lady said it makes a difference when she comes, it makes a difference between her family having a meal every night or missing a meal.
Wow.
These people, most of them are working, but they're in underpaid jobs. Many of them are not documented. And so they don't have very good benefits. They don't make a lot of money. So when you come, bring something. When you come to church, bring something with you, a pound of beans or a pound of rice. You can get them for $1.25 at the dollar store.
Or we could, as a class, take an offering
Okay,
and give money to them, and they could buy what they need.
right.
too.
They have
So-
people that shop for them. If you don't want to bring something, drop a check in the offering plate and just put East Food Bank, and it gets to Jamie, and then they buy whatever they're short of. But these people really need food.
Yes, okay.
But
Thank
Do
you.
you have, Steve put the address of East in there in case we want to drop stuff off on Thursdays?
Okay, it's at East Elementary. You could just Google, I don't have it right here, but you could just Google search online for East Elementary School. Or
Is
East
that in
Elementary.
Denver? Is that Denver? or-
That's in the Littleton Public,
Little.
Littleton Public Schools. It's in Littleton. It used to be a public school.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Could be easily identifiable online. Okay, just a quick announcement too.
Well, why don't we just say that next week during Sunday school, we'll pass around a basket and we'll collect. So that'll give you a week to think about what you want to put in it. We'll just give a cash donation to the,
That would be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
next week we'll do that. We'll
Okay,
put it in there.
good, okay. Just a quick announcement too, in conjunction with our topic today on why choose a church. The staff would like for us to announce that, or re-announce that there is a survey going on currently in St. Andrew and a visioning committee process. They're asking for feedback on what you think about the church practices and processes and what could be better. And so they encourage you to go online especially and fill it out online. And then there will be meetings coming up to really discuss this more in depth. So we don't really want to go into it deeply today because they would like for your thoughts to be fresh, and you will want to go to these meetings that are coming up and share your thoughts, whether they're on the website or whatever you have on your mind. So let's don't delve to that too deeply today, but share your other thoughts about St. Andrew and about our class and about churches in general. And we want to delve into why are fewer people going to church, and why do children, our kids and grandkids not go to church in numbers that we used to, and all those kind of things. So with that, Ron, thank you for preparing this. It's a good topic.
Okay, well, thank you very much. If we get put our slide up,
Okay, hit the share screen here.
okay, here's two sayings, and these two sayings accent one perspective on what Christianity should be. Before religion made it all about what we believe, Jesus was all about how we love. The one to the right, we worship Jesus instead of following him on his same path. We made Jesus into a mere religion instead of a journey towards union with God and everything else. Next slide. Okay, I always like to be humorous about heaven. Welcome to heaven, here's your harp. One below it. Welcome to hell, here's your accordion. Then the one to the right. Through some unfortunate celestial air, Ernie is sent to hog heaven.
Yes.
All right, big word, taxonomy. We engineers like to use taxonomies. A taxonomy is just a structure to divide stuff into bins. Good example, you can say we're gonna put all the males over here, all the females over here. We're gonna further subdivide the guys into 0 to 20, 20 to 60, 60 and above in age groups. You can come up with all kinds of taxonomies. But perhaps one of the best taxonomies I like relative to religion is one where you have two major taxonomies. One side is what I will call practice and lifestyle, how you live, what you put in application. The one on the right, beliefs. Now, they're not totally independent. What you believe does and can affect what's on the other side. But as I get older, this is just my opinion, I'm of the opinion that not enough work is put on the left side. Putting stuff into practice, how you act, kindness, friendship, pursuit of justice, those things. They impress me, at least, far more than your voluminous book of beliefs, where you pull out a long scroll and say, well, we're gonna have a fight in our church over whether the communion cup should be 18 ounces or 14 ounces. And I continue to be amazed with so many, particularly a lot of the small churches, sinking and taking on water, are fighting over stuff on the right side, beliefs. Now, you say, well, some stuff has to be defended and is correct, right versus wrong. But there's a lot of stuff that churches are fighting over that simply don't make sense in my mind. Should the choir wear green robes or red robes? Should the sanctuary have so many seats in the balcony, or the sound system be so many amps? Those are the kind of things that too many churches are struggling with, and they're losing people because of it, because they're not putting enough emphasis on the really important stuff, which is, how do you live? Go ahead, Joy.
Those, we can't read them.
There should be a handout. Take a look at the handout. But yeah, practice some lifestyle, tribe only, love and care for others, pursuit of wealth, pursuit of power, justice, care for the earth. And we're gonna go into them in a little more detail. Next slide. We'll just look for a moment at beliefs. You can further taxonomize or split up beliefs into some different buckets. These are just some buckets I see jumping out at me. There's the beliefs that are what I call nearly purely theological. Those are things like, do you believe in the Trinity concept? What do you think about communion? What do you think about who are the apostles and who aren't the apostles? Who's saints and who's not saints? What are the qualifications for priests, ministers, and rabbis? The middle category talks about beliefs that are reward or punishment or fear oriented. And that's things like, what's mortal sins? What's minor sins? How do you get forgiveness? Can you have a proxy to get forgiveness? In other words, do you go to a priest or go to a TV evangelist and write him a note to get your forgiveness? Universal, then there's the one that I think is really the most important in my mind, that transcends any one religion, and that is what I will call universal moral precepts. That's love, care, integrity, justice, freedom. Those come out in virtually every major religion in the world. Then there's the one, peculiar rules and laws. And of course, Leviticus is a classic example of peculiar rules and laws. It's rules related to, and beliefs that related to personal things, hygienic things, circumcision, sexual practices, marriage, divorce, courtship, premarital boundaries, all that kind of stuff. There's nationalistic and tribal. We're seeing a lot of that right now, where particularly in the American church, we're combining a lot of the Christian theology with political theology. And it's causing a lot of problems in the instances. Concepts like American exceptionalism. Everybody knows that we're God's chosen nation. Then there's God's chosen people. That's the Jews. And there's some denominations in this country that think that they're God's chosen people. And who's got the mark of Cain, which is a very racist interpretation of the Bible. And then there's political beliefs that probably shouldn't be in a church, but they find their way in. Okay, next one. And then we have to ask ourselves, well, what are your belief sources? What feeds the beliefs on that one side of the taxonomy? One thing that might feed your beliefs is written religious text. They say one of the greatest things that ever happened to Christianity was getting its beliefs, doctrine, packed into a written text that you can hand to people. And with the invention of the printing press, distribute widely.
And translated.
And translated. Of course, there's other religions with religious texts. The Quran, the Book of Mormon. Somebody's got inscribed tablets, Sanskrit written on canyon walls, things like that. Another category of belief is claimed vision or direct revelation. There's people that have gone on TV and said, God told me last night. Yeah, it's happened. In fact, one evangelist said, unless he raised, I don't know, some X million dollars, within 2 weeks, God was going to strike him dead. And his followers better come through with the donations. Another source of belief is a religious leader or counselor. We say religious leader, we think immediately of some of the very high-ranking religious people. It could be the picture like on the right of a Ayatollah Khomeini. It could be the Pope. It could be the elected leader of the Southern Baptist Conference. It could be an elected leader of some major church in the denomination. But those are some of the belief sources. Another belief source is tradition, just stuff that's been handed down through many generations and years. And of course, we talked about in the Methodist Church, our Wesleyan Quadrilateral, where we look at reason, experience, the Bible, and what's the fourth one? Experience, yeah. Tradition, yeah. Okay, and then of course, there's good old reason, inference from nature and science. A lot of people say, I look at the world and here's what I see God must be by just taking a walk through a park. And then there's I think is maybe one of the most reliable ones is universal moral inference. They've done surveys even years ago. They found pirates. They're out this was hundreds of years ago. They're out in the Caribbean, plundering and murdering and all this bad stuff. And yet they found within the pirate community, they were still looking for certain things. They got mad as hell if you didn't divide the booty equally. So there's justice, demanding justice. They're killing people, but they want justice.
Equal share.
The captain of the pirate ship wants loyalty. And they'll make you walk the plank if you don't demonstrate appropriate loyalty. So that's an example of universal moral precepts that we find throughout the world.
Natural law.
Yeah. And there's a book there, Jesus Wars, I've just bought, I haven't read it yet. How 4 patriarchs, 3 queens, 2 emperors decided what Christians would believe for the next 1,500 years. Next one. Some of the holy books. And I'm gonna raise some eyebrows here when I say many of the holy books have serious defects or origin claim problems. If I went into the Quran in any detail today, I'd probably get an assassination squad coming at me. That's how much they don't like criticism. But if you really dig into a lot of the religious books and do good research, you'll find there's some serious defects and deficiencies in them. One of the best ones on the Bible to read is Jesus Interrupted by Bart Ehrman, who's also done a course on that in the Great Courses. Hinduism has holy books that are called the Vedas. And there are 4 primary books. There's different names there. And within Buddha, there's a sacred book called the Tipitaka, and I may be mispronouncing that. But that apparently is, the English translation takes up nearly 40 volumes.
Oh, wow.
So that's tough to beat somebody over the head with your holy book if there's 40 volumes. Okay, next slide. So if we base our religion purely on a book, here's one fellow saying, I have a book. And the one below it, I have a book too. And then a couple scientists down there saying, these people need more books. Meaning they ought to be a little more well-read. Next one. Okay. When we get to the pearly gates, there's all kinds of different interpretations of what to expect and what we're going to find there. But one more humorous one, or maybe it's absolutely true. Some people feel like we're going to get an exam. We're going to show up in front of St. Peter. He's going to open this giant scroll book. We're now, I guess, open a computer with a flash drive. But look us up and say, make a judgment. So I'm concerned that there's going to be 2 exams at the pearly gates. There's going to be an oral exam and there's gonna be a written exam. And you gotta score at least 70% or better on the written exam in your beliefs. And you've gotta get, if you wanna go to heaven, you gotta get over 70 on the written exam. And if you wanna spend less than a year in purgatory, you better get over a 90.
Oh, dear.
And you better not flunk your oral exam. That's a picture of Rodney Dangerfield in the movie Back to School, getting grilled by Sandy Kellerman, who's his professor. And he's got to pass his oral exam because he's been accused of cheating on his finals. And then, of course, we have the kids in the class. I can see Alice and I get killed in a terrible car accident. We both show up at the gates at the same time, and St. Peter hands us each a sheet. Here's your test, get busy on it. And we're sitting together, and well, there's a couple girls that are also taking the exam. She's looking over, and I can see myself. I'm leaning over to Alice and saying, "Psh, what'd you put for 17B? How about question 5? Is it C or E? I'm not sure." And then I'm really sweating question 25. It's multiple choice, and then there's one here that has a write-in. What did you put in there?
You should worry.
Okay, so there's a movie I love, and I think Steve said he saw it. Al Brooks and Meryl Streep are in it. It's called Defending Your Life. The movie starts with Al Brooks is driving a car and he gets distracted. He swerves out and runs head on into a bus coming the other way, and he's instantly killed.
That'll do it.
So he ends up in this intermediary judgment place that's more of a courtroom. It's a great movie. I think you'd enjoy it. And then there's a cartoon you've seen before. Colonel Sanders at the pearly gates. There's a couple chicken statues on each side. So he's saying, uh-oh. And then one that all of you animal lovers will love. There's two lines there. The animals are all running, the pet cats and dogs are running through the pre-approved line. And we poor miserable humans with our sinful nature are out there in front of St. Peter, sweating it out as he looks us up in the book. Next one. Okay, which brings up relative to the taxonomy I've proposed, which is beliefs on this side and lifestyle on the other. Here's some questions, and we want to get started with answering some of them. Which beliefs affect life practice and to what degree? Can you have a saintly lifestyle with atheistic beliefs? Can you be a cruel and evil person with correct religious beliefs? Come that day, do beliefs overpower how you lived? And particularly in the South, where you better go through the salvation steps and you better go through them accurately and mean it. There, I see a lot of people saying, I've said my, I've done my thing. I've gone to the altar. I've accepted Jesus. I've got a clean slate now to pretty much do what I want. I'm ready for Fat Tuesday. And there's others that say, no, that's not it. You can't just get a quick get out of hell free card and you're good for life. Is there a judgment day? And if there is, will belief or life dominate? Or will be a test where you get, a graded weighting factor on it? So what's the class think? Are beliefs more important? Is lifestyle more important? Can you be a real jerk and do just about everything bad in life? But if you have beautiful beliefs, you get 100 on your written exam, are you good to go for heaven? If you accepted Jesus in an altar call when you were 12 years old in Knoxville, Tennessee, are you set? Anything you did after that doesn't count. You're set. What's the class think on which of these criteria is more important? Are they both important? Let's hear what the class thinks.
One of the first things I remember Mark saying when I began coming here 2 years ago was that religion is a man religion is a man fishing, thinking about God. relationship. Maybe it's the other way around. But relationship is a man fishing, thinking about God. Religion is a man in church who's thinking about fishing.
Oh, okay.
Oh, interesting.
Well, this makes me think too, that talking about which church do you choose? Why do you choose the church? Different churches and denominations put more, different emphasis on this, practices versus beliefs. I don't know that we can easily say how much each church puts on each of those, but obviously there are different approaches.
Well, you could just live your life like you want, and then on your deathbed, you convert to. And you're in like, what? What if you don't know? Yeah. Your deathbed.
Right.
You're killed.
And who gets to roll those dice?
Yeah.
Yeah, on a personal level, my grandfather, maternal grandfather, was raised Catholic. Slipped away, more than slipped away, seriously slipped away from the Catholic Church and lived most of his life apart from the Catholic Church. But I remember somebody in the family said, you watch, within hours when he's on his deathbed, he'll call for a priest. Saying that he was very much deep down believing that he better get things right before the last heartbeat. And yeah, we probably could undoubtedly call for a priest there before the end.
Where did all this stuff come from anyhow? I mean, if there's a heaven, great, but I don't count on it. You know, and I certainly don't believe in a hell. Except what we create ourselves right here and now.
And you make a good point in that many have said that there's a terrible dichotomy between defining your God as a God of love and to define a place of punishment that is not only a place of punishment, but it's so bad, it's for eternity, and it's pain, torture. I mean, you read about the horror stories of the Middle Ages, where he heinously tortured people, but now a lot of people have great trouble saying, you mean we have a God that's going to put people in an eternal torture chamber? And yet, and then flip the sermon 5 minutes later over to how loving and good he is. Something's wrong here. This is a terrible disconnect. And it's a classic example of how people in religious beliefs can merge two things that are totally incompatible and leave them in their mind with comfort and never have any dissonance.
Seems to me the whole purpose, at least for me, is how you live your life. And attempting to live your life that would please a higher spirit, a higher person. Spirit.
I'm going to put in a plug for my lesson next week, which is on the year 1858, some of the political figures in 1858. And James Buchanan followed several, we would consider Christian practices, reading his Bible, maybe daily prayer, some other things. But just about everybody that associated with him said the guy was, they didn't like him. He didn't convey any of the precepts that he purportedly was cultivating. The crop wasn't growing. He planted, yeah,
We president.
yeah.
The word Christian. I mean, so much of this judgment stuff and these beliefs and have all been plastered onto the word Christian. And I'm at the point now where I don't like to use that word ever at all. And if somebody asks me, I just say, well, I do my best to follow the teachings of Jesus. Period. Because maybe I've run across too many family members that are attached to, you know, really fundamentalist churches, and everything comes out of their mouth is judgmental.
Well, and it's not only, it's not only judgmental, it's based in fear. I think
Yeah.
it's fear-based.
Yeah.
And if you don't do such and such out of fear, you choose to believe those things, you know? And,
That fear then means that you have to believe that there's actually a hell.
well, that you have to believe anything that they're preaching, you know, that, I was thinking when Mark was preaching this morning about, that we're born in love,
Yeah.
in God's likeness, instead of being born out of fear.
Yeah.
You know, that we're born sinners, and then we are doomed unless we accept and change our ways. Well, you know, it was just refreshing to hear that in a different
Yeah.
way. I have evolved into believing that way, but to hear that perspective was very cleansing, you know, you hear that, you know, so. But I think one promotes fear and one promotes love.
It sort of reminded me of Marcus Borg, saying that he really didn't want to join or be a part of any church that wanted him to believe the unbelievable.
It's a good way to say it. I know. Go ahead, guys, and then I know Ron wants to go on to the next slide about why we affiliate with a church.
Yes, actualization about, you know, that you, in order, how do you actualize? How do you live your life? What do you do every day? Means that you've internalized your values. And that you are actually living with what, you know, am I kind every day, what every day? Things like that. And yesterday for me was a really whipped out day, because we went to downtown Denver, and I'm driving past the Buddhist temple and past you know, other places of religion and stuff. And what was different for me was I had a very good friend that's a complete atheist, who I consider to be one of the finest individuals in the world, right? Okay, so then I go back to, you know, okay, that the only way you can make it to heaven is through, you know, through Jesus Christ. And so when I really think about my own life, is it the actions that really make it? Is it my day-to-day living that I do? Is it the way that I really treat fundamentally people? Or do I have to have some kind of tie? If that's the case, then why do I come to see anything? And when I take a look at it, one of the fundamental reasons why I come here, because there's a lot of fine people. And I like to associate with those people that are reminding me about what do I need to do every day of my life? And and I thank God for the people that are going before me. Because there's some other people that have been through their lives and their really tough circumstances that I can learn from. So when I get to those places, that I don't have to go ahead and not know what to do. And I also, the other thing is about, who do you trust? Is another one. And the trusting side of it is who do I listen to that's worth listening to? I'm not gonna blindly listen to people. That's one of the obvious the reason why that I listen to the pastors in the churches. There's stuff about what's going on. So where I'm really wrestling with this whole thing is when I think about my affiliation with the churches, because I really think that I'm learning a lot from good people. And how do I live my life as my self-actualization for what there really is? That really is fun for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other thing is like I said, why here? Why call myself a Christian? Really?
Jump on to the next. Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay. So this is by no means a complete list, but we have passed it out. And let's ask some more people in here today. Why do you go to church?
Need to spring from the ideas from other people to help us get through. It's part of it's selfish because we need it. But we can also share with other people too.
Okay.
Help them.
My perception is most of us, at least here at St. Andrew, go, there's no single reason in any of us, but we need the human connection and friendship and support. It's people.
Community.
Mhm.
If I went into the sanctuary and all I had here was a magnificent sermon every week, which we get, but that alone wouldn't meet my needs. You need friendships. You need to be able to talk to people. You need to live with others, not go off in a monastery where you isolate yourself from
Well,
from
and
the
you also need
world.
a mindset. Are you here to get or are you here to give? And for years and years and years, I was just going to get instead of going to give.
Yeah, I think it's two-pronged, just like what you're saying, it's two-pronged. I like to hang out with fellow traffics. On the journey, trying to be their best persons. And I like to be able to give back to the community or to the world, however you want to look at it, because that's God's creation and what can I offer?
Yeah, I think for Vicky and I, it's the many things, the praying together, the good music, the sermons, the fellowship with everybody, learning, all those things.
But you're giving so
Individually
much,
draw.
you're giving so much to us.
And it's giving and taking both.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, when we were looking for a church, I'm more interested in my little group of friends, and we have had quite a circle, a journey between us with all the different churches. You, however, were not very happy in a lot of these churches because your beliefs did not line up. You know, I was like, okay, well, I can worship God from whatever pew I am sitting in. But Ron is really more impressed with people. I think it was the music that brought us here, and then looking at some of Harvey's sermon notes. But I knew you weren't happy someplace else until we got here. Where you could express your, I'll say, your engineering type ideas. You know, but like I said, I have, through our years together, I can worship God from wherever I'm sitting. God is not the Methodist Church. He's not Presbyterian. He's not Church of God. You know, you understand what I'm saying?
I need the openness.
You need a little bit
I
more.
need the
than I do. Whereas in sisters, that's a more emotional attachment, I'll say, which I need.
Jim,
I am consistently amazed at the impact that this church and individual members have on society, on our community, on the way the world works. There are so many times that I find out that individuals are doing things that are just incredible, and they get absolutely no recognition. They don't publicize it, and it kind of slips out that they're carrying all sorts of good things about, and it's I never have seen that in other churches as much as I have seen it here. The reason that we are here is that I used to work as a regular volunteer for Habitat about the time that we were looking to change churches. And as you may or may not know, each Habitat build is sponsored by an institution, usually a church or a fraternal group or something like that. And so I was used to going to work in the morning, and I would take my little brown bag with a peanut butter sandwich in it and things like that. And then I got onto a St. Andrew build, and I thought, literally, I thought I had died and gone to heaven. Because they would show up, the ladies would show up with fried chicken and spaghetti and meatballs. They would, I mean, they would come out with a.
You
big
voted
tart-
with your stomach.
No question about it. That's, you know, and but the thing that happened also is that the volunteers that were up on the framing, all knew each other, they would laugh at each other and they were really effective builders because they would cooperated well. And then when we came here, I would see them again and they knew my name. I was, what? You know, I would walk, this is an incredible church that does this just out of habit. I mean, it just does it.
Yes, okay.
Beer night, I love it.
10-cent beer night, the worst promotion in history in Cleveland, Ohio. And they actually had this, and it was a success in terms of bringing people to the stadium. But the crowd got out of hand, and I think they had to call the game and forfeit it. About the sixth inning, because the crowd got out of control. So we could have beer night here at, or wine night at communion.
Could I go ahead and ask
Yeah.
I'll come back to you, to the Zoomers, I just want to give you a chance to make a comment or ask a question. So you feel like you're not interrupting us. Anybody on Zoom, go ahead. If not, then I want to, if Rev Amy doesn't mind, I want to ask Amy what she's found in her career, why people join any church, and in particular, St. Andrew. Would you mind sharing?
You're not on the spot.
What do you hear?
If I had a magic 8 ball and could package this, I mean, it certainly would change the trajectory of religion in America, right? Because we know less and less people are coming to church. I'll send out afterwards to Steve so he can distribute. Pew Charitable Trust just did a new kind of study on religion in America. And Ron, to your point earlier, you know, what they found wasn't that people were believing less in God, they were believing less in the church.
Yeah.
And had acknowledged the harm of the church.
Mhm.
So if I think about like, you know, my time as a hospital chaplain, for example, and kind of that image of at the end of your life, you know, people are looking for something. I find most often that people aren't in their process of dying, aren't worried about what's coming next. It's the people around them that are, right? I mean, we all long for the sense of connection beyond death. So I think that directs us more to how we live, how we connect with one another, how we show up for one another, how we care. There's been nothing more painful to me to sit with people who don't feel or know that connection, who are at the worst times of their life looking to who will show up for me, who is praying for me. If they don't have that community, then there's the sense of being lost in this kind of chaos of living without any sort of grounding. So I think for me, church at its essence is about communion, which is about community, which is about sharing, which is about doing life together. It's not some transaction that we just simply receive, but it's a relationship.
Amen.
And I think we set ourselves up to think it's gonna be perfect because we know that it's not. But what I often say to people who aren't connected to a church, or if I'm talking about St. Andrew, I'll say, just show up, right? Like, just show up, give us a chance. And to your point, Linda, I feel like a lot of where we are right now in American Christianity is kind of having to flip the script and change the narrative to say there are some really good things that are happening at church. But like, you gotta get people in the door, and the way we get them in the door is how we love, how we listen, how we acknowledge the full goodness of all people. There are a lot of people I meet with who have been gravely harmed by the church, especially scripture. And so asking them to give up something and give us a try, it's a pretty big ask. But most often, if people come here, like, they get it, they hear it, they see it, they feel it. But I think we're the shiny unicorn in the landscape right now. This isn't the way that most churches are thriving. I mean, we're kind of the anomaly there. So it's an opportunity for us to look at how do we create community? How do we seek to be faithful? And how do we keep kind of expanding the table? Because I agree, Ron, I don't think it's like with our beliefs, or if it's, you know, you gotta sign on a dotted line that this is the creed that you believe in. I think it's more of like, oh, look around, people actually like each other. There's a way to hold dissonance in what we believe that says, we may not believe the same way or love the same way or agree politically, but you know what, we can still be in community together. But I think that's a hard set. That's where we start. It's a mindset of believing that all people have, you know, worth and value and dignity. And it's also a skill set that we learn to be in community together, but we have to work at it. We don't just have it instantly because we're Christians. It takes something.
With the 10 cent year, it'd be a lot easier.
Yeah, well, actually, I was thinking about that. In October, we will have our chance at this kind of. St. Andrew is offering a conference. It's called Christian Beer Camp. It's kind of like an adult Bible school with beer. And really, there will be hundreds of people from all around the world who come to theology beer camp, not Christian beer camp. But we'll have tents out in the parking lot. Everybody's invited. I think it will be a game changer for our church.
Is that the kind of thing it will take to change the image of the church? All the Christian church, those kind of things that people look at and say, oh, there's something fun to go to, or the churches are open.
Well, it's kind
What
of
will
like
it
this.
take to change the image from the
You know,
negative that it is now?
When I tell people what I do, which I don't start with, because it tends to shut down conversation. Or people will apologize for cussing in front of me, or, you know, or they'll apologize for not being in church lately. So I think it starts from that place of like, you know what, we're all human, right? So let's connect on that human level and then like build from there. So I don't know if it starts and ends with beer, but. But we can enjoy it on. We can share, we can eat together, we can do life together.
Okay, Esther first and then Steve.
I think the two words that describe St. Andrew the best to me are acceptance and grace.
Acceptance and grace.
I work at Cafe Connect, and so I have a lot of people that come in. And we just accept everybody, and we know we don't all agree politically, we don't agree theologically, we don't agree with a lot of things, but we're here, we accept each other, we care for each other, and a lot of times have really great discussions about our differences and still remain in the church and don't leave, because it's okay to not agree on everything, but we still can accomplish so much because of the acceptance and the grace that is given, because we all need grace. None of us is perfect, so.
I agree with you, Esther, but it would be okay if I disagree too.
I hope you don't disagree. That's okay.
I'm just making a joke to you there, you know. Steve-O, go ahead.
I want to advertise that we need to do the survey again, that we need to do the survey for everybody on the church survey that they're doing. Make sure you get that done within a week. We have to get that in there.
Okay.
And one of the things that I'm going to be putting on is that I feel that we need to pivot. This church needs to pivot. And we need to start doing public service projects. Whereby it's not us, we're asking the community we're gonna go do fill in the blank. We're gonna go pick up trash on the river. We're gonna go do public whatever. We're gonna go down to try to make a huge difference with whatever in the homeless camps or whatever. We're gonna go down that, like, maybe we go do shelters for all or whatever else we choose to do, some things that we like that, or we do it But we do, but the whole intent is that we're the enablers, the St. Andrew, if you want to do good, come hang with us. And we demonstrate the community then for us to be able to do this. We operate at a much larger level, which is what my primary thing is, that I feel that St. Andrew's playing small. I think that we have a huge, we can leverage our huge financial capacity. We have to go ahead and do things. So what we need to do is figure out what can we do to maximize our impact for the community. And that includes then just showing people that they come hang. And I totally agree with Dave. I think if you just hang just a bit, then you're gonna find out that this is really a good place that will, you know, what else we got going on with it. The other thing is that I'll let you know, so I'm gonna take a little bit of a tangent here. I honestly feel that the United Methodist Church is dead on one aspect, and I think that they need to kill the small church. I actually think that in Denver, we should operate with a number of very few, like maybe 3 or 5 extremely large Methodist churches, and we need to start taking a look at what else we need to do to move away from the small churches. And then the reason for that is to leverage resources. That we need to really take a look at how we can go ahead and maximize the resources that we are, and how we can actually go ahead and do it there. And I think that the Methodist Church started actually operating in a completely different way, that we could go ahead and make it much larger. So what I will be putting on my survey is that we need to go ahead and do, we need to really seriously pivot to what else we're gonna do for outreach.
We're outreach, okay.
Because otherwise it ain't worth a damn. No, through the actions, it's through our actions. We're gonna go ahead and show them that.
Okay.
Well, there was 2 things I real quickly wanted to share. One thing that just came to my mind was that, in trying to, encourage people that I know that aren't in church to try our church, I have been able to use people that I know in our church, that are realtors, that are, you know, that have different functions, to just to recommend those to people outside the church, so that would be another contact for them. And I have a nephew that I'm really working on, and I've given him literature that we have produced here, and also given him information about realtors or hairdressers or whatever, you know, that are here in the church. So the other thing that I keep thinking about is that when I first became a Christian, the church that I was going to, all the service went on inside the church. It was like everything we did inside the church. No one outside the church saw the fruit and all that kind of stuff. And one thing I love about St. Andrew is that we are so out of the church. You know, that a lot of what we do is outreach outside the church. And how else are we gonna bring people in if they don't see our good work?
Unleashing the church.
You know?
But we also have to recognize, or for me, I come here to get filled and lift
Yes,
up
yes,
so that I can go out there and
into the,
do
right,
outreach that you know nothing about.
right, yeah,
So we have to recognize that there is work that goes on that we're not publishing or putting on the screen on Sunday morning or.
We've got about 5 minutes left. Let's do this class. What do you think of this class? Are we doing the right kind of things? Are we talking about the right topics that you like? Are there topics we're not doing that you would like to see? Or book reviews? What are your thoughts about this class? Let us have it.
well, I
Any
have
thoughts? Oh,
something that I'm always on to you about.
Yes.
I
pray more in the class.
just feel like in whatever we talk about, I feel like we should give the attention to God. And I just feel like prayer is important, that we should either open with or close with prayer. So
Yes,
that's my bill.
yes. Steve, go ahead.
Read your phone.
Okay, okay. Jim, go ahead.
I agree with Vicky, a little bit, different, spin on it. I think that the issues that we discussed in this class, I think are extremely timely, and it's good to have the discussions. The only criticism I have of this class is that we are in church, and there is opportunity to discuss things on a spiritual basis, on a religious basis here that are not available in the community, because if you're in a union meeting or some other kind of a meeting and you start talking religion, it's going to be pretty well turned off. People are gonna get up to it.
Right.
Here we have the opportunity to look at the issues of the day, the most important things that are happening, and look at them from where we need to go from our inner voice. And we get our input from other people. People look at things differently, but when we look at it together and have other people's spiritual input, I think that's really valuable. I think that's really right on the mark.
Okay, thank you. Somebody just let me know on the phone too, they'd like to have more female-led topics, classes. So if you are a female and would like to present a topic, please let us know. We are open to that. Of course. Other thoughts? Yes, Helen, go ahead.
I think about our actions and how we live our lives. Sorry, my throat's raspy, but the benediction that Harvey had us say every Sunday morning. My first husband's family was very devout Catholics. And every time Jane would come visit me, she would insist on coming to my church. And after she went home this one visit, she said, would you mind emailing that benediction to me? It's the most beautiful. It just says it all. You guys remember it?
Oh, yeah.
We go now
Now
into his name, into all the world. May our light so shine and our joy be so obvious that all who see us may come to praise God. But she just, that's special to her.
Amen. I think you pretty much done our prayer for the day.
That's our benediction. That's our benediction. Our pastor or whoever does the programs almost verbatim has used that. It's like little picks and chooses. But there was something special about every week we said the same thing. Because it really says it all.
It really says.
Yeah.
Can I say something? I watch these guys every week try and put together a lesson that will touch people, that will be spiritually uplifting or not, depending on what it is. And it is not easy to week after week after week to come up with different ideas and information. So my challenge is
Get off our
everybody
butts, huh?
in here contribute. By that, I mean, if you have a book you like, don't say, oh, I read a book, you should do a lesson on it.
Yeah.
No, if you've read a book, you do the lesson on it.
Thank you.
So get involved and find something you want to teach.
In line with that, Alan. Steve, when you sent the email about the Kansas City pastor, Reverend Hamilton.
Yeah.
I just thought that was gonna be so good, and as I recall, it was the Sunday it snowed awful, and I couldn't get in here. But, that prompted me to immediately try and get that book. And, you know, I tried several local places, and I finally, my granddaughter and I were chatting, she said, I'll just order it for you on Amazon. I mean, she really did, and I worked stuff, but I just, there was such short notice. Because I think that email went out on Wednesday and he was gonna be here on Sunday. Well, she did order that. I said, you do that for me. I've just not taken the time. And I'll be darned, it arrived in time. It arrived on Saturday, but my mailman or whoever brought it threw it in the snow that was.
So you were able to.
But you know, I retrieved it and it was untouched, but who would have thought, you can really get the books quickly and it.
Ronnie, we get it the next day.
But maybe even if you encouraged us to, well, she has Prime, I guess that's why she offered to email her to order 30.
Thank you, Helen. We need to wrap up, let everybody go.
I think you do a
Wanda.
great job.
We appreciate Ron so much. We didn't want to cut you off if you had
No, no,
anything else you
no.
wanted to cover today?
No, I wanna
Okay.
hear from the group.
Very good. Thank you, everybody. And
All right.
let's, wait a minute, go ahead, Sharon. Final thought.
Information that you give us that we can find work into our world and, you know, share what we know and that we learn. So I wouldn't know all this stuff if I didn't come to Sunday school.
Good. Okay, well, thank you, everybody, and invite a friend to come to St. Andrew.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Alrighty.
Yeah. Good discussion.